Yeah, hi. I told everyone I'd be standing, but I've actually been sitting for a while. My name is Amelia Andersdotter. I belong to the Swedish Pirate Party, which is a political party with the aim of changing copyright law, patent law, and general information management in society. That buzzing sound doesn't happen to be microphone problems. Well, so the Pirate Party was founded in 2006 and was kind of the third stage of Swedish political action in copyright issues. So we were by no means the first, and as it's turned out, we haven't been the last either. Swedish copyright activism began somewhere in 2002, 2003, when the recording labels opened the Anti-Piracy Bureau. Upon the opening of the Anti-Piracy Bureau, a couple of crafty people opened the Piracy Bureau, advocating the exact opposite of the Anti-Piracy Bureau, namely that sharing information is something positive, sharing cultural experience is something positive, sharing cultural experience and information is, in fact, what probably makes us human, because if we didn't want to do that, we'd be isolated and lonely. Obviously, in 2003, 2004, the Pirate Bay Project, one of the world's largest torrent trackers even today, was founded as an independent tracker with the aim of not censoring any of the content put on their servers at all. They managed fairly well and have a large collection of porn, which is typical for the internet. When the Pirate Party was founded in 2006, it was a reaction against a legislative proposal to illegalize downloading in 2005. Previously, only uploading of copyrighted material had been illegal, because when you upload or make copyrighted material accessible to the public, you can viably be accused of having infringed on somebody's monopoly on distributing the goods. However, downloading can never be an infringement on somebody's right to distribution, because you don't distribute when you download, you just accept. The Pirate Party ran for the elections in 2006, and from the day that we started up until the election day, we had about 8.5 months to run as efficient an election campaign as possible and gain as many votes as we could. We ended up getting 0.63% of the votes in the Swedish elections. And although we were quite disappointed and had expected more votes, it's actually not that bad. For most upstart political parties, it takes well over 5-6 years before you reach those levels. So we gained popularity fast. After the election, we started becoming more of a campaign organization rather than a political party. So instead of like normal political parties do a lot of administrative work in various councils, municipal councils or regional councils or in the state, we focused on single legislative proposals and worked with them very hard. We gained a lot of attention for our work with the FRA law in 2007 and 2008. And perhaps above all in May and June of 2008, when the general public of Sweden was outraged by the fact that a civil intelligence unit of the Swedish state wanted to have access to all email sent by Swedish citizens. It ended up with a very large debate on privacy. What information can the state have access to? What right do they have to access to private data in digital environments? But also, where in the digital environment can you say that a breach of privacy has occurred? The predominant argument from the Civil Intelligence Unit was that they weren't actually going to read most of the mails. It was going to be done by a machine. Obviously, the breach of privacy occurs slightly before that. Just the fact that somebody has the thought of scanning your emails at all is a breach of privacy. So it has nothing to do with whether or not a human being will read them at some point. It's more the fact that there's an intention to check whether a human being should be reading your emails or not. The law ended up getting passed through Parliament despite the broad public debate. A lot of people were upset about that, and we still have quite a few activists in Sweden working solely with this legislative proposal and having it overturned. It's expected to be one of the issues in the current election campaign of 2010, because we're going up for elections again this autumn. And the current oppositional parties have sort of promised that they will remove the law if they're put in power. So we'll see what happens with that. The second legislative proposal we worked with was the Swedish implementation of the IPRA directive. The IPRA directive is closer to the work that I would normally do when I work, because it comes from the EU. So I've been elected to work with EU issues. IPRA was a directive that came slightly before my time. It was passed in 2004. That too emerged in a very large debate in spring of 2009. And after IPRA, are you familiar with IPRA? It's an intellectual property rights enforcement directive. It's about civil sanctions. So basically it makes penalties for breaching intellectual property rights very high. They give you very high fines. They give you, you have to pay very large compensatory damages towards the rights holder. And there is even one provision that states that you have to pay for advertisement against copyright infringement should you be convicted. Rights holders gain extensive rights to get a hold of your personal data even when there is no concrete suspicion of you having even committed a crime. This will have been implemented in Spain at some point as well, because it was meant to have been implemented by 2006. Swedish politicians didn't, because they stated that the political situation wasn't such that an implementation could be feasible. On the 17th of April of 2009, when we were about 2 months into our election campaign and had been lobbying with demonstrations and handing out flyers in public squares and trying to get into the media, the Pirate Bay were convicted to 1 year in jail and approximately 310,000 euros in compensatory damages to major rights holders. In the space of about 3 days, the Pirate Party gained something like 40,000 new members, and in the opinion polls, we skyrocketed from 0.7% of the votes to 8.2% in the matter of a couple of weeks. In the end, in the European elections, which were held on the 7th of June, we ended up with 7.1% of the votes. 7.1% of the votes gives us 1 seat in the parliament, and our current parliamentarian is called Christian Engström. However, because the European Union has also been in a transitional period between 2 framework treaties, the previous, which is called the Nice Treaty, and the present, which is called the Lisbon Treaty. There was some uncertainty about the amount of MEPs, or members of the European Parliament, that Sweden was actually going to be granted. Under the Lisbon Treaty, Sweden gets 2 extra MEPs. I am one of those. On June 7th, the Lisbon Treaty hadn't entered into force yet, but now it has, since December 1st. So officially, and in most of the registers in the European Parliament, I am given to understand that I am registered as a member of the European Parliament. I have not seen the results of this in ways of office or my own badge or traveling compensation or what have you, because there's still some bureaucratic issues to sort out, apparently. But for all intents and purposes, I am an MEP who is being kept out of office.